Parents of Reddit, what was your oh god I've raised a monster moment? I firmly believe my oldest is a sociopath. There's lots and lots of things that make me believe it, but since there's not exactly a black-white test, there's no way to prove it. He has no conscience and hasn't since he was old enough to feel guilt, near as I can tell. He is 30, twice divorced for beating his wives and totally ignores his daughters whilst giving everything possible to his son. I blamed myself for years, but my younger two are so different than my oldest. I just don't know if it's my fault or not. Not the mom, but the aunt. Sister's older girl is a son, but the little one is a psychopath, and sister and brother-in-law indulge every crazy behavior of hers. One of the worst was last year when one of my sister's urethra broke and she had to get a tube from her kidney out of her body into a bag. While said urethra healed, she was pretty ill and was in the hospital for a bit more than a month. Anyways, second night she's back home. Little crap pulls the tube out of my sister's kidney, requiring her to get an emergency surgery. Little crap's excuse. She knew doing that would hurt mommy, but she, my sister, was getting so much attention from daddy since she got home. Attention she, little crap, deserves more. The worst part is that my sister and brother-in-law thought that was cute. SMH. The crazy part is that my older niece would have never gotten away with something like that, so I don't really get why they spoiled the younger one so much. I know she's my niece, but I just can't see past those behaviors and like her. My 5-year-old was eating some chocolate, and I told him not to get any on the floor because Sadie, my family's dog, would eat it. Him. Then she'll die. Me. Yeah, him. Mommy, I thought you don't like Sadie. Me. Well yeah, I don't. Him. And you don't want her to die? Me. Well, you can dislike someone, but that doesn't mean you hate them enough that you want them to die. Him. Oh. So it's okay if you don't like someone. You don't have to kill them or anything, right? Me. Right. Him. Oh. Okay. Thanks mommy. Had he just been going around expecting to kill people he doesn't like all that time? I'll never know. When my son decided in the grocery store parking lot that it would be fun to scream, "You're not my mommy. Where's my mommy? You're not my real mom," he had this evil smirk on his face as I panicked and tried to explain what could happen if someone heard that. He started yelling it louder. When I was arguing with my 7-year-old and she said she wished she was dead like my miscarried baby. Freaking savage and a brat. Years ago, my wife and I had a very heated argument. Our daughter overhears us and comes into the room just as things hit their peak. My wife rushes into the bathroom crying. I'm left sitting on the bed feeling low, listening to my wife sob on the other side of the door. Our daughter looks up at me with a smile and says mommy's crying and proceeds to laugh loud enough for mom to hear. And with that, I was in trouble for something entirely new. My 5-year-old brother called my mother a fat bee and got timeout. I told him he got what he deserved, and he got this crazed look on his face and told me, "Now you're going to get what you deserve." Pulled out a pocket knife and started chasing me with it. My parents took him to the cop shop to try to scare him straight. Town of 800 people, so the sheriff was basically always free. The sheriff walked up to my little brother to talk to him, but when he hunched over to get closer, my brother just socked him square in the mouth. He has since outgrown his rage. Thank God. My mom found out her lack of parenting with my brother went wrong when he tried to choke me out for accidentally kicking him. I don't even remember being choked, but apparently it was so bad he had to go to anger management and therapy for 3 years. 3-year-old daughter deliberately screaming to wake up a 4-month-old sister for 5 hours during a long car ride. My 11-year-old son recently called 911 and said I slapped him. CPS came. It was a clusterfuck. It was so well orchestrated. He even took a picture of himself with a red mark on his face. I didn't slap him and it eventually got debunked, although he still won't admit it. A couple months later, he told his dad I forced him to make the old dirty 2-finger licking gesture. Take a pic and send it to him. He lives with his dad now and isn't allowed here until I can afford a camera system. Still unclear on a motive. My brother-in-law is a monster. He used to be so sweet, but over the last 2 years he has stolen 4 cars. He has been brought home by the cops 3-4 times. Once he stole $100 from my mother-in-law. She called him and asked where it was. He claimed he didn't know. He butt dialed her right after and she clearly heard him bragging to his friends that he had stolen the money and that she was so dumb for believing him. The list goes on. These people are the most beautiful, humble people I have ever met. I don't understand how this boy came to be. My dad told me when we were driving once. I was in the back and was trying to climb through to the front. He pushed me back to my seat. I was maybe 6-7 and apparently said, "When you're all old and weak I'm going to chuck you about." Not me but my parents. My brother was always the naughty one, shoplifting as a kid, mouthing off at school etc. But I think when they realized he was a genuinely bad person was when he stole a bunch of stuff out of some old guy's cabin and then burned it down so he wouldn't get caught. This chilling conversation with my then 4.5-year-old daughter. "Mommy, do you love me?" "Of course, my darling. I love you forever and always, no matter what, even after I kill." Little brother's name? Sweet as pie smile on her face and serious look in her eye. At the time she had recently learned to tie knots and I'd already had to take her jump ropes away as I'd found her with one tied around little brother's neck pretending he was a horsey. I have 2 sons. One is 11 and the other 7. The 7-year-old is special, highly intelligent and very social, but also does a lot of deep thinking. Early one Sunday morning he came up to me, out of the blue, and said, "Dad, how do ducks work?" I was all, "How do what? What, ducks?" In a half sleep state. Before I could work out what he wanted to know he said, "I guess if I open one up, I'll find out," and walked away. Honestly spent a good hour looking for ducks and watched him carefully when he went near the kitchen utensils. My kid was 12 at the time. We were driving their friend home after a sleepover. They were taking turns roasting each other in the back seat. Then my kid says, "Your parents probably knew you would stutter. That's why they named you Aaron." Yes, he did have a stuttering problem. Not a parent, but an older brother of a young sibling. He poured paint thinner all over my mom's flowers one summer after my dad accidentally left it on the deck. We were repainting the deck. More happy that he didn't drink it, but it was definitely an oh my god moment. She probably spends 100 hours plus and a lot of money gardening every spring summer, so it was a big deal. When I watched my younger son walk out on the porch, pick up a plastic wiffle bat, look at it, look at his older brother sitting on the porch steps, look back at the bat, and then haul back and crack his brother's head like Babe Ruth popping one out of the park, I could watch his thought process in 5 seconds time. Bat, brother, bat, hit, no hesitation. Oh man, too many to list. The most recent is when my son shot me with his Nerf gun directly in my eyeball. My eye still hurts a week later. A couple of weeks ago, my other son pooped on the floor, he's 3, and put a donut on top of it to hide it. When my son blithely told me he wants to play the documentary Under the Curve for his classmates because he is trying to convince them the world is flat, he admits he knows it is not, but he is trying, actively, to con them into thinking it is. My 6-year-old daughter told me to shave that thing off, my goatee. Couple days later I did. I asked her, "Do you like it?" She makes a bit of a face and says, "No, I didn't know your chin was so small." Okay, this is not my kid, but my mom found out she was raising a butthole when we were out baby clothes shopping with my pregnant aunt, whose first baby had died a few days after birth a year or 2 earlier, and my brother says, "What are you buying it clothes for when you don't even know it's going to live?" When my son was 13 or 14, we were chatting about how as kids get older, and parents become elderly, often the kids become a caregiver to some degree to the parent. My son offhandedly remarked that he'd be looking for the cheapest nursing home at which to park me. Skinflint bastard. When I was little, in the next town there was a children's care home. If we were bad or our parents just wanted to frick with us, they would threaten to send me and my brother to said care home. The children's care home has recently been converted into an old people's home. You can see where this goes. Today, my 3-year-old dipped her cantle up in ketchup and ate a whole plate of it. My 6-year-old has always had weird interests. She asked me to show her pictures of what's in our bodies. I showed her diagrams on Google, and she said, "No, I mean inside of a real body, like a dead person." I showed her some random picture of an arm surgery and she was begging for more. Also she always asks me to stop so she can look at dead animals on the road. When my childhood dog died, she tried to sneak and look inside the bag while I was bawling. We're really pushing for the medical field and not a serial killer field. I have 3 sons, 8, 23 and 26. The middle one, Andrew, boasted to me that he hooked up with over 30 chicks on Tinder, and with some of them in my bed. Yeah, Andrew, you're dong. Congrats. You should hook up with your wife on his bed and tell him. See how he likes it. My 7yo son was in the bathroom taking a monster dump. It stunk so bad I could smell it walking by. I stopped, said you okay and flipped the fan on. He looks me dead in the eye and turns the fan back off. While potty training my 2yo, she figured out she could pee a little, get a chocolate chip as a reward, then wait 2 minutes, go pee again and get more chocolate. She's gaming my system at 2 years old. Not me but a buddy of mine. He is the most criminal-minded dude I have ever met, but I have always just chalked that up to a rough upbringing. Growing up eating dry cat food and raw potatoes from a neighborhood garden. Negligent alcoholic mother, constantly moving from place to place. This dude always saw all the angles. He would casually identify and point out criminal acts other people were committing in broad daylight that escaped everyone else's notice. He could see malevolent motives in the most banal activities. He sold drugs for years but would also work his butt off to mask his income behind a plausible veneer of legitimacy. Anyways, he and his girlfriend, another friend of mine, ended up having a set of Irish triplets who were super precocious. I was back home visiting once and he showed me this video from his home security cameras. It showed these 3 budding ne'er-do-wells, ages 2-4, coordinating an escape from their bedroom, piling up pillows and assisting one another over the baby gate. They wandered around silently, peeking around corners before making their way to the kitchen to retrieve a butter knife. They then proceeded to the hall closet where their toys were kept, and used the butter knife to pry open the latch and get some toys, which they absconded with back to their room. They played around for about an hour, before doing this all in reverse, covering up their tracks. But because his girlfriend was waking up from her nap they didn't replace the butter knife. My buddy said after he saw the video, he checked under the eldest's bed and found 4 other knives. Before my son could crawl he learned how to climb the extra tall baby gate. Before he could walk he climbed the windowsill. Before he could run he climbed the bunk bed. Before he could open an applesauce container he learned how to unlock the front door. I'm not sure what moment made me think yep, he's a monster. It might have been when I almost witnessed Harambe 2. I ducked down for 10 seconds to tie his sister's shoe and when I looked up he had one leg over the barrier ready to go say hello. He's 2 by the way, or it might have been when I resigned myself to the leash. I brought it home, prepared for the protests. Instead he declared himself a puppy dog, made his siblings play police with him for 2 hours while he sniffed out the bad guys then gleefully showed me how easy it was for him to take the dang thing off. I give up guys. My 5 and 10-year-old were having an epic verbal war in the living room which ended abruptly after I shouted various generic parenting noises in their direction. My 5-year-old son then walked confidently into the kitchen, took a picture of his brother off the fridge and proceeded to dispose of it in the bin. Utterly butthole behavior of course, but honestly I was secretly extremely impressed with his top passive aggression. When she tried to strangle her sister and a couple weeks later lied to the school about her being abused, leading to a full-blown investigation. Later they discovered from her friends that she lied. While packing her things we discovered that she had been stealing opiates and alcohol. She can't live with us anymore to protect her younger sister. When my daughter was naughty as a preschooler we used to put her in the kitchen for a timeout. We had a safety gate on the doorway and as long as nothing was cooking in there it was like a holding pen for her. Well, she started to ask to go to the toilet as soon as she was put in there. At first she was allowed to go but pretty soon it became clear she was just using the toilet excuse to get out of the timeout early. The first time I told her she could go to the toilet after timeout, which usually only lasts a few minutes, she proceeded to pee on the kitchen floor in retaliation. She has a terrible temper. She's 15 now and it's still there. Living with her is like being in an abusive relationship. When I was 10 and my brother was 8, Our parents took us to see Bambi at the cinema. When Bambi's mum was shot dead, my brother burst out laughing. Yikes. When I realized that she is most happy when she's doing something that pees someone else off, like biting people, messing with electronics and playing with cat stuff. Daddy, can you get me this game called The Sims? Sure. Surprised you've heard of it. Oh yeah, Susie says it's so much more satisfying killing people instead of the pigs I kill in Minecraft. Is your main reason for playing video games so you can kill things? Well, keeps me from doing it in real life, so I don't see the problem with that. Then she winked at me. I still don't know if she was just fricking with me. My 5-year-old son didn't like the babysitter we got for him on our date night, so he hid the car keys and my husband's wallet, only taking out some cash to pay the babysitter. Also one of my shoes, but that was poorly hidden. When my kid and I walked past this taekwondo place, I've always tried to get her to sign up for. Finally she says yes, I'll sign up. We walk further down the street and she mumbles, then I can beat up Isabella. We didn't sign up. At about 15 months old, my daughter was beginning her potty training phase. She discovered that we liked it when she peed in the potty, to which she immediately decided the potty could be replaced by any container she could find. The next day, she delicately removed all the clothes from her dresser drawer, pulled out the drawer, then sat and peed in said drawer. I'd never thought I'd pour pee out of a dresser drawer. 2 months later, she stacked toys on top of her high chair and climbed Mount Dangerous to get to the top of the fridge, where I was keeping a box of red velvet cake mix. She mixed it with water, ate some, decided she didn't like it, and began to rub it into her carpet. Her very white carpet in our rental home. She's 9 now. She's still nuts. Lovely little girl. Daddy, you're fat me. Yes, I do have a big tummy. Lovely little girl. Daddy, you're ugly. How does one respond to that from a nearly 5-year-old? Also told my wife she wants to put her in the garbage bin and never see her again. All this while we enjoyed the family holiday last week. My son is autistic, and therefore lacks a strong filter for his internal thoughts. Anywho, we were getting ready to leave the house a couple of years ago and he looks at me and goes, "Are you really going to work without any makeup?" Wife's mother died unexpectedly. No disease or anything. My wife was, of course, devastated. The day after, I wake up to hear my wife on the couch, just bawling her eyes out. I walk out to comfort her. Our 10-year-old daughter stops me in the hall. "Why is mom crying so much?" Well, her mother just died, but that was yesterday. My 8-year-old son had gotten a plastic baseball bat from me and my wife. This plastic baseball bat wasn't just some weak plastic, it actually was pretty hard. Well, one day I walk outside to see my younger 5-year-old daughter screaming and running from my 8-year-old son, who is holding the baseball bat and whacking her wherever he can. He was wearing my jeans, had a bandana on and a baseball cap on backwards. He kept calling himself a cool kid and wouldn't stop whacking her. I ran over and stopped him and my wife took our daughter inside to get an ice pack. I took the bat away and asked him why he was hitting her, and I repeat exactly what he said because I'm a cool kid and cool kids show their siblings who's the leader. Daddy. He got grounded for a week and after he was done with the grounding he told me he was very sorry. He wasn't finished. A month later I find him running around with a plastic sword in a ninja costume from last Halloween and whacking my daughter again. I ran over, stopped him, my daughter ran off, and when I asked him why he hit her this time he said because it's fun. He got grounded for a very long time, and I realized then he needed counseling. He is now 20 and my daughter is 17. My son had come over for dinner one night and somehow that was brought up. He denied the entire thing even though before that he said he remembered counseling. I just hope he doesn't raise his newborn son to be a karate master or a gunslinger. When my 3-year-old looked at me shirtless and said in a mocking voice, "You have small muscles, little old man. Little old man, where are your muscles?" flexed and talked about how big his muscles are. Not the parent, but I used to babysit for 2 boys, 8 and 4, who had very devout parents. After telling them it was time to pack away the toys and go to sleep, the older one turned to me, deadpan expression, and just said, "I look forward to watching you burn in heck, sinner lady," and ran away laughing. My 3-year-old Potty trained, randomly peed on the floor. When my wife asked him why he did that, his response was because it's frickin' funny. Brilliant. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.